So I sat down to make a collection of the videos and pictures from our West Coast trip this August. And I remember getting lots of requests from all the way from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan to add some music or something to my videos, and wasn't really sure how to do that, but I found this button, so we'll see how my voiceover goes. Because I'm an employee now at work, I have holidays plus my shift days off, so I had 2.5 weeks out at the West Coast this year, so I had different groups come and visit while I was there. So this was the first group. It was Sandy and myself and another couple from Sexsmith, Sean and Jamie, and we had cabins rented at Victory Cove, and we did some fishing as the pictures show, but we also had a lot of whales and a little bit of rain, but overall pretty good trip. Sandy's newest, most favorite fish to catch is this black rockfish or black bass, and they're really fun and they're very ferocious and easy to catch once you find them. And actually, everybody seems to like catching them, and they're very good to eat. So this is a picture and video clip of the Victory Cove Lodge we've been staying at for quite a number of years. You just get rooms there. There's no meals. You cook yourself. There's barbecues under the tarps and stuff there you can use or cook on the boat, or inside some of the bigger cabins. They have their own cooking facilities. New this year, they had chicken coops, so you could buy fresh eggs, and you can get ice and sometimes a little fuel and stuff there, but you can see it's very, very close access to the open ocean, but yet it's just tucked inside the bay, so if the weather does come up, you can hide back in there, and when the weather's good, you can skip out into the open ocean. So for smaller boats, it's really handy. Then we went back to town, and Sean and Jamie and Sandy went home, and a couple buddies from work, Chris and Brian, were there, and we reloaded the boat and headed out to a secret location that only Derek knows. Kind of did a little scouting trip. Never had been there before, but it really seemed to pay off. Even though we couldn't find any halibut, we did pretty good with all the other fish, and the weather was pretty nice. Here's a little clip of the boys pulling up the crab traps after our first night in this anchorage. We're probably 80 or 90 miles out of Prince Rupert here. And like I said, probably in a spot only Derek knows. And I don't put names on this stuff for a reason, exactly where we're at. But yeah, Brian was the first time on the boat like that. He was just in there like a dirty shirt, pulling them up. We had a pretty good haul, and all our anchorages we stayed out there. So the scouting trip was pretty well full success, I think. And Chris had been out before, so he was an old hand on deck. Brian fit in pretty well. So we took a break to fill it up some fish, and thought I'd put the drone up, just take a little video of the clear water and the surroundings there, and catch Chris hammering on a little rockfish. Then while we were sitting there, possibly having a beverage, there was a great big sea otter swam by the boat. So I got the drone up, but you can see him just kind of dive under the water there, and I just kind of caught him with the up on the top right there. But anyways, that was kind of cool. And then while I was up, I just thought I'd take a little more of the scenery around while we finished our beverages. Just another quick clip of the guys acting like a well-oiled machine on the back deck, bringing in the next morning's harvest of crabs and a little overview of where we stayed. It's not the same Anchorage, but it's very close. It's still quite a ways out of Rupert. We were very on our own. We never seen another boat out there. So after 3 days and 2 nights of being out on the boat. We were full of fish and hadn't caught any halibut. We tried about 3 different spots, and we pretty well had everything else. And like I say, the boat was pretty full of fish. Hadn't had a weather update because we're out of cell phone service and we're a long ways out, so we figured we better get back to town and drop the fish off. And on the way back, we saw all these whales and stuff. Took some footage of that, and went back to town and dropped the fish off, and thought we'd try some of the more proven halibut spots. But the next day was too windy to anchor and fish, so we just explored around, and we actually cut our way in between Stevens Island and Prescott Island, which I've always kind of wanted to try. So we did that and just took some drone shots of the scenery, and unfortunately the guys didn't get any halibut. It was too windy, so that's the way it goes. So that was the end of the trip with Chris and Brian back to Breakers, and had some drinks with Team Tai as they came in that night. Next morning, while we were shaking the cobwebs off of the night at Breakers, we got Team Tai loaded up and headed out, and for a 3-night, 4-day fishing extravaganza. Not a lot of pictures were taken, but we had some tackle failures, and luckily we were able to keep catching fish after we were losing them. Otherwise, I might not have ever lived it down, but we didn't get too much pictures, but beautiful weather, as you can see. And back to town, loaded boat, and off to Kitimat to meet Mum and Carrie and Sarah. Mum and Carrie and Sarah were tackling the terrible drive all the way out to Prince Rupert. So yeah, Dusty helped me load the boat, and I backtracked to Kitimat and met the ladies there, and we boated over to Shearwater Hot Springs for the first day. Beautiful day, and set the traps in, and in the morning we got enough crab and prawns and even some squat lobster to eat, and the girls went for a kayak ride, and they didn't know there was that many fish there. I put the drone up and captured a pretty substantial run of pink salmon. So once they came back to the boat, we told them not to go back in there and let them fish do their thing. At the time, they didn't realize how many fish were actually there. The drone caught it in the air. It's pretty amazing footage. After a night in Shearwater, we spooled up all our traps and headed for the night over to Bishop's Bay Hot Springs and spent the night there. And then figured we better get around to cell phone service, see what the weather's doing over by Hartley Bay, the reserve out there. Check fuel and make a plan. Picked up a few salmon along the way. And on the way to Hartley Bay, we came across a mother and a baby humpback that seemed to be just basking in the sun, so I took some footage of that. So after the whales, we continued on towards Hartley Bay. We trolled Paradise for a while and picked up a handful more salmon. Got cell phone service. The weather looked really good, so we ducked into Hartley Bay, showed the ladies that, which is kind of a cool experience, seeing the reserves out on the water like that. Fueled up the boat and the weather looked good, so we did the whole Campania Island I've always been wanting to do. I've heard the beaches there on the south end are really, really nice. And yeah, by the video to come, you'll see.
It's a photographer's dream picture.
Yeah. We might not get Auntie Carrie back for... So we spent 2 days, 1 night at Campania, and it's a long ways out of Kitimat, probably 90 miles, depending on what part of the island you want to measure right to. So we had to start working our way back. So we woke up in the morning and got to fishing
Whoa!
and
Sarah.
picked up
that on camera?
Yes.
a few black bass, some salmon, tried a couple halibut spots that didn't pan out, and got back close to Kitimat, put the crab traps in for the night, and got a good score to bring home. And that was it for the trip. Load the boat and head for home. It was pretty successful. A lot of memories.